Hi there, it's Dr. Nadia here. Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk About Sales. This past weekend, I had the opportunity to be a speaker at the Level Up event hosted by none other than the LaVista Jones. It was a phenomenal event. And in my session, I talked a lot about overall systems and processes the women needed to implement in their business in order to generate more sales. So as we're looking at sales, a lot of times when people think about sales, you only think about that piece of the relationship when there is that monetary exchange, or at least a conversation or invitation around that exchange. So what do I mean by that? The invitation could be a landing page. So you may have an online product or service or program, and people just go to a landing page and they can simply input their credit card information there. So people think, boom, that's the sale or the invitation to buy, or more, or you may have a conversation with that person or make an invitation from stage. So a lot of times you think about sales in that little tiny little bubble, right? In terms of when there's that conversation or, again, that invitation, whether it be a verbal or written invitation to then have that monetary exchange. But the truth of the matter is you're always selling. Like, sales begins long before you get to that point. Sales begins when you walk in the room at an event. It begins when you're in your email marketing. It begins in your social media, whatever ways that you're putting yourself out there. People are starting to make judgments about you, and they're doing that investigative piece around developing that know, like, and trust factor. Even sometimes, even though it's not a conscious decision, like in the moment, they may not consciously be thinking, I wonder if I want to one day hire her. But the truth of the matter is that process is starting to form, and they're starting to build that relationship. So it's really important that even before you get to that point, there are different systems and strategies that you've thought through in order to make sure that you're looking at your sales systems and processes from a holistic point of view. That is really, really important to think about. So a lot of times in our marketing falls short because we haven't thought about the end result. So one of the things that I taught the women and walked them through was, what is that end result or action you desire people to take? And then everything you do is that you reverse engineer it. And actually more than one. So one is what, and then definitely part two of that is the who. And depending on who you talk to, who comes before what, but that matter. Those two are top two. And what you're doing in terms of marketing in order to lead to the sale. Because if you're marketing and your lead generation and your prospecting, and you're doing all these activities, but you're not doing them in the right places, then you're going to see challenges on the back end when it comes to actually conversions and having sales conversations and seeing the results that you desire, or working with the clients that you desire to work with. So really quickly, here are 6 different systems, and I broke them out into systems. And again, this is a very simplistic overview. So when you're looking at your business, I want you to take some time and look at each of these different areas. I only broke it out into 6. For the sake of trying to keep this short. So you break them out in these different areas, and then I want you to drill down deeper so that you can look at all the different pieces that fit under each category. So you think about maybe putting together like a flow chart. If your brain kind of works in the flow chart kind of space, there will be multiple arms. So I try to keep it simple for the sake of training, but then also because I need everybody to understand that obviously each business is different. So the way my business is set up and my flow may be very different from the way your business is set up and your flow. So the first system is your lead generation. What does your lead generation look like? What are those activities? What is your strategy? So when I say that, what does that mean, Dr. Nadia? Are you speaking? And when you're speaking, what are you speaking about? Where are you speaking? What is your call to action when you speak? I know that's getting a little ahead of myself, but those are things that you really need to think about in that lead generation. Again, the big thing is who and the what. Who are you talking to? Who do you need to be in front of? And then what and where are you leading them, right? I just added another W, my apologies. But there are lots of, so again, when you're thinking about these, there are lots of things that go in each category. But what are those activities? What are the ones that are providing the greatest return? So when you think about marketing, lead generation, visibility, whatever you may call it, branding, like these names that we throw out in the marketplace, what are those activities that you're engaging in that make the most sense for the type of client you want to work with? So again, understanding the who is very important, because just because there are a lot of options doesn't mean you need to exercise on all of them. So making sure, and I encourage you to pick two, especially depending on where you are in your business, and just get some data on those two before you start to add to it. Now, there are those that would disagree with me, but that's just Dr. Nadia's humble opinion. All right. So that's the first system, though, lead generation, because without the lead generation, without the whole marketing piece, without there being a who, there is no sale, right? So we need to get in front of someone to let them know that we exist and how we can best serve them. I will also add under lead generation is being clear on the problem that you solve so that you can clearly communicate that in lead generation. Then system 2 is the nurture or the relationship building piece. So just because people just met you doesn't mean that as soon as they are now aware of you that they're going to immediately buy. Obviously, there are people that are in different phases. You have different buyer types. So some people are much quicker to purchase than others. Others need way more data. They need to date you a little bit longer, right? So what system and process do you have in place to do that? To make it not easy, but simplistic, to make it a simple process, but to also make sure that most importantly, you're consistent, whatever that is. A lot of times this ties back to your marketing or your lead gen strategy. Those two go hand in hand. How are you inviting people into your community? Do you have a Facebook group? Do you have a newsletter, email list? Do you do in-person networking events? You may have your own networking group where you have events. Do you have a tour? Do you have an annual event? Like, what are those things and that you can do and activities that you engage in on a consistent basis to help build that know, like, and trust factor, to build that relationship so people get to know you, get to know how you can help them, and they get to decide, is this someone that I would like to work with? So that's what I call your nurture system and process. Then system 3 is all about invitation. And I separated the two because there's nurture and a relationship, and then an invitation that's call to action. And call to action could be two different calls to action, right? You could invite them to share information. So when you're sharing information or opting into something, there is no monetary exchange, right? There's just an information exchange, but there is an invitation for them to do that, to join you, to get to know you, right? Then there's obviously invitation or opportunities where you present them with the opportunity to move forward, and there's the monetary exchange. What does that system and process look like? Again, as you're looking at your previous two, see all these start to build upon one another. Obviously, there's going to be some overlap in terms of as you mapping this out, but it's important to remember that there needs to be that piece where you're letting people know that there is an opportunity for them to take further action with you. How do you work with people? Because don't assume people get it or that they know exactly what you do. And you want to be able to explain that to them, because let's just say you're a coach. People have their own opinions and ideas of what a coach is and what a coach does and how they do it. It may not be accurate in describing you. Or furthermore, you may not even be a coach, right? You're like, I don't even coach people. That's not what I do. But if you're not really clear on how all of this works, then guess what? People get to make it up. They get to create their own story, and it may not be the story you want to tell. So be very clear on what that is, how you work with people, you know, again, engaging people, building that relationship, but also sharing. It doesn't have to always be constant, but there needs to be times when you share with people how you work with clients so that they know, oh my gosh, she can help me. Let me call her and hire her, right? I threw in system number 4 just because I do know that I do have some newbies out there, and I felt like this needed to be said, and that is process payment. How are you, what's your system for payment processing? It's also important as you're looking at building your sales team. What is that process? How will your team process payments and take credit cards or checks or whatever that process looks? Also in your payment process, in that system, if you will, do you have in your business, do you have proposals? Is there a process around that? Or are there conversations? Is it just going to a landing page? Really take the time to think through that process. If you have I just lost my train of thoughts. If you have a proposal process, is it necessary? Is it simple enough? And what are some ways that you can streamline that process so that you can get to the yes faster, but obviously to the cash faster, especially when you start looking at your cash flow. So definitely taking a moment to understand what that payment processing process looks like. And that's why I separated that, because obviously it could go possibly into the invitation. System or process number 5 is client care. This is very important because sometimes we spend a lot of energy in getting new, and we don't necessarily care for our current and former clients at a level that I believe many of us desire to, myself included. There have been times I've had these grandiose ideas, but if I'm not intentional about it and I don't document or process so that my team knows these ideas that are rolling around in my head, then these things don't get done. But this is also important, and I did not add this. This would be a number 7, but I'm not going to add it. I'm just going to throw it in client care, but also your referral process. That's a totally different one that I didn't include in our original, in my original list. And then finally, process or system number 6 is follow up. Just because you're building relationships, just because you built up the courage to maybe have a sales conversation, or somebody applied to have that conversation and they said no, or not right now, or I don't know, I need it, whatever, right? It wasn't a yes. Doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. How are you continue to nurture, to continue to answer any questions or concerns, or to continue to build that relationship through the follow-up process? Again, when you think these things through, a lot of this stuff you can set up and leverage automation. You can also delegate some of these activities to make it very simple for you, to make sure that they are done consistently, but you really need to make it a priority to think through all these processes. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I would throw in a number 7, which would be your referral process. How are you asking for referrals? Do you do affiliate commissions? How are you thanking people for referrals? What does that entire process look like? Are you even asking for them? Are you being very intentional about your referral process? And in asking for those referrals of your current clients, your strategic or affiliate or JV partners, people that know you and would love to support your business, and even your former clients, are you making that ask? Because a lot of times people would give you referrals if you would just ask. People mean well, but we're all really busy and we have a lot of distractions. And if you don't remind us to do these things, sometimes more than one time, it just doesn't get done. It's not because they don't want to. It's just because they forgot. It's just a lot of things that are vying for your clients and your prospects' attention, and you have to be very strategic in making sure you make the ask. So I would add a number 7, which would be your referral process and system. So really taking the time to think through those pieces and making sure all of that is in place. So again, all of this is important, especially as you're looking at when is it a great time to build my sales team? What are the systems that I need in place? Guess what? All of the systems I just talked about, right? You need those systems and processes in place. You need to have some standards of how things get done, standards of excellence. So for example, one of my clients, when we onboard new clients, they get a welcome gift. Well, in the welcome gift, there are things that she wants. One, the actual gifts themselves, but also there's a letter, that's printed on linen paper, that's put in a beautiful matching linen envelope, and then the big envelope that holds all the pieces. She doesn't want the plain old boring USPS one. She wants a beautiful, colorful, nice, big bubble wrap envelope. Those are standards. Guess what? She maps those standards out. She doesn't have to do it. Now that it's mapped out and documented, that's something that she can hand off. However, she had to first think about it, put that system in place. So when she brought on the sales team, i.e. she outsourced the sales, right? Now the team knows what to do and how to do it, how to take care of clients, what that process looks like, so that the standard at which she runs her business can be continued, but that's something that she can now take off her plate. Does that make sense? So again, think through your process, take time, go through this several times, look at the different systems and processes in the areas and the buckets I broke them out in, and really start to think through, what do I need? How does this already work? What am I doing well? What do I need to improve? What are some gaps? And all that good stuff, so that you can really tighten up your system, so that when you are in position and you're ready to outsource your sales or build your own team, you can hit the ground running, because now you're not scrambling trying to figure out what to tell them and how to tell them to operate in your business. And if you need help with this, I know it's a lot of information. Feel free to schedule a Fix My Sales session with me. Head on over to meetwithdrnadia.com. That's meetwithdrnadia.com. Be more than happy. Would love the opportunity to look through that with you, answer any questions you have. And of course, if my team can help you, we would love the opportunity to do that, to help you get it all mapped out, and if necessary, get it all set up so that you can run your business much more efficiently. All right. Well, I know that was a mouthful today. Awesome, good stuff. I had an amazing time this weekend with the ladies, and that was definitely one of the things that was top of mind that I wanted to share with you this week. So this is Dr. Nadia with another episode of Straight Talk About Sales with none other than the Dr. Nadia. Signing off. I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.